Hello everyone, my name is Cindy Fumbata and welcome to the very first episode of Hairapy Sessions with Cindy. My first guest is my very good friend, Lauren Stanley. Lauren, how are you?
I am doing very well, thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much for having me in your very first session. I'm excited.
It's an absolute pleasure. The reason I asked you to be a part of it is because I've always loved your hair. First of all, in terms of the context of this, but I also love you and all the light that you bring, and I think you're really great, and you embody just being yourself and living in your own skin and who God has made you to be. So wow, and you're such a ray of sunshine. So I thought it would be great to have you on here. Just
I feel like I'm beaming. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome. And I love your background. I think it works. I think it's very you. It's very Lauren.
Yeah. I purposely sought out a tree.
Awesome. So, Lauren, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how old you are, what you studied? Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I was born in Zim. Can have the whole story. Born in Zim, moved to South Africa when I was like 10, spent 2 years in Joburg, now live in Hairapy, which is a tiny little town. It's great. I went to school here, high school, and then I did a couple of gap years. I was in Jeffreys Bay for a year, England for a year, and then I went to Rhodes and I studied linguistics and English literature. Loved it. And then I did my honors in linguistics, and now I am working in friendship. And I'm 25. I just turned 25.
Awesome. 25 is a really interesting year. You'll remember 25 is when I shaved my head.
Yes.
So I'll go into detail about that later in the series. But
exciting.
Yeah, 25 is a good year, but it's also it can be challenging.
Yeah, it's an interesting time because it's kind of like I expected to have my life really together by now, and I really don't feel like I do.
Yeah.
But I think every year is kind of like that. You expect it to be one thing, and it isn't really that, and it's all about embracing that and realizing that you bring yourself into every year. Surprise! And to be okay with that.
And it also actually reminds me that we're all just kind of faking it. When you look back at teenage Lauren and teenage mini Cindy, we always looked at these adults, these 21, 25, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds who seem to have their lives together. But we actually don't realize that this is the first time we're all doing this. So this is the first time you're 25. This is the first time.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the first time I'm navigating what it means to be in this particular stage of life and all that it means and holds. And I think that calls for us to be kinder with ourselves, which is hard.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Because those expectations are there and we're not meeting them. And actually it's a case of bringing those expectations into check and looking at them with a different perspective and saying, why do I expect that? And is it okay that I'm not there? And most of the time we'll find that it really absolutely is. And we're exactly where we need to be for ourselves.
I love that. We're exactly where we need to be for ourselves. I love that. So now moving on to your hair, your beautiful red blonde. Lauren, what 5 words would you use to describe your hair?
It's a tricky one, actually. At first, when I started thinking about it, I was like, 5 is so many. And then get on a roll and you're like, okay, but some of them kind of say the same thing. I think, first of all, the first word that kind of came to mind was redhead. There were a lot of categories that redheads get put in, and not all of them are nice. I would put myself in the redhead category. I'm okay with that one. I'm less okay with ginger because it feels nerdy. Like, you'd call Ed Sheeran ginger, but you wouldn't call, like, what's her name? Nora Roberts. Is that? She's a redhead lady. Anyway, fancy actress. A ginger, you'd say redhead. So I lean more towards, especially the connotations of redhead more than ginger. Don't like Ranger. I really don't like that one. I've never been like bullied or made fun of really for my hair color or my freckles or anything, but I don't like it when people call me Ranger. I can handle most things, but I don't like that one. And then I suppose another word is wild. Not everyone would agree with that. I feel like my hair is wild, but I like that. I mean it in a good way. And I suppose curly could go with it. I really like curls. And maybe fiery because of the color, I guess. It's funny, people like to make funny remarks about people with red hair, so they'll say to somebody standing with me or something, oh, is she a feisty one? Because redheads are known to be feisty. And I think that the people who know me, I mean, I can get passionate about stuff, for sure, but I really wouldn't put myself in a feisty kind of box. But maybe I'm just delusional.
I think you're a bit delusional. I mean, look, it's your lived experience, and that's fine. But my lived experience is that you are quite feisty and very spicy. So
certain people bring that out of me. Let me just put that out there. Not mentioning any names.
So going back to the definitive 5 words, right? Curly, wild, what else was there?
Fiery. Redhead, do we want to put that one in?
Yes, because I'd like to unpack that a little bit more.
Okay.
And the 5th one?
And the 5th one, I think, is frizzy, which is not a positive word, but I would use it to describe my hair, yes.
Okay. Going back to redhead, you mentioned the different categories of redhead. Do you mind unpacking that for me?
It really is just to do with connotations, and I have no intention of offending anyone in placing these words in certain boxes. It's simply my connotations that I have with these descriptions or categories. First of all, I think boxing anyone isn't very fun. No one really fits in their box, but we put brunettes and blondes and black hair and redheads, and we have these boxes. So to unpack them, as I said, redhead has a different connotation to ginger. Ginger, I'm also okay with ginger, but redhead has a connotation of being a little more, for me anyway, like better in some way. And not as in like, I'm better than you kind of better, but it just feels nicer than ginger.
I've always been fascinated by the term ginger, and I've always wondered, is it considered, well, obviously you can't speak for all redheads around the world, but for you, is it considered some sort of a slur? Is it a derogatory term? How do you engage with that term?
For me, it's definitely just like a category word, a descriptive word. That's kind of all that it's doing. But the connotations that come with it, so I wouldn't be offended if someone categorized me as a ginger. But the connotations that come with it are kind of like more nerdy. It's kind of like a less, I don't know, not really something you aspire to. It can be cool and it's fun. Ginger ninja, and like, I don't mind, especially when my friends are like, hey, I got a ginger friend. Like, I'm like, yay, I'm the token ginger. It's cool. But I suppose if I had to choose one, redhead would be the one that I go with, because it feels more sophisticated, I guess.
Just, it's very interesting how you have very clear images of what both those terms mean, and I'm particularly interested in the ginger term and why it carries a specifically nerdy feel and air about it. And I just wonder, where that comes from. Is it because in mainstream media all the gingers have been these nerdy thick glasses, sidekick, if you look at Harry Potter, I've never watched Harry Potter, but is his name Ron Weasley?
Yes.
Who's the
I haven't watched it very much either, but yeah.
But even though, I've never picked up a Harry Potter book or watched the movies because I wasn't allowed to watch that growing up because it was witchcraft.
That's another conversation. I think we're in the same boat.
Yeah. But it's interesting how even though I didn't engage with that, I can make that connection between that kind of mainstream character and it being just a connotation or leading to a certain connotation of it being synonymous with nerdiness. What do you think has led to it being synonymous with nerdiness for you?
I think it is the media. It definitely is. It's characters like Ron and people like Ed Sheeran. Not that there's anything wrong with them at all. They're lovely people. But it is that kind of persona that they carry. It's a bit goofy. It's a bit, and it's great. But I would personally choose to associate with Redhead, which has a different connotation. I don't know. It's interesting. It is interesting, and it's kind of difficult to really put your finger on it. And if I'm really being honest, I feel like this kind of opinion could change. I could change my mind tomorrow about how I feel about these words, because it really is just a feeling. So, and I definitely wouldn't be offended if somebody called me a ginger or wanted to keep me in that box. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you say, that it could, your opinion and your feelings could change at the drop of a hat. But I'm particularly interested in how they come about, because they actually have consequences for how you see other redheads, how you see yourself, how you engage with, what you see in the mirror. And that those ideas that are planted in our minds over decades, or even just through one interaction, have serious consequences in terms of how we relate with
it is interesting. And actually, as you're saying that, I'm also thinking I would far more quickly put a male in the ginger category than a female, even if their hair, the shade of red, was exactly the same.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
And I think it's still to do with those characters who have kind of personified gingerness, and they're guys and they're geeky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So Lauren, what are your favorite ways to wear your hair and why?
I think my favorite way to wear my hair has always been down, loose. And I like it particularly when it's like free and curly and wild. Full. And that's kind of what happens when it gets washed. I just have to wet it and then let it dry without touching it too much, and ta-da! It's how I like it, which is really amazing. And I think it comes from a place of having been helped by people in my life, family, friends, to be really okay with who I am. and the way that I am. And to feel like that is beautiful. So that's how natural is how I like my hair the best. Also because I think generally when I do my hair, when I try and do something fancy or something, I'm like, it just looks weird. It's the same with makeup. I don't wear makeup because every time I put it on, I'm like, simply because I'm not like an expert at getting it to look right. So I feel like without it, it's better.
Good. And I mean, I think lots of people strive to be at that point, be it with hair or makeup. So I think it's really admirable that you're at that point in your life. You mentioned having people in your life, friends and family, who have helped you get to a point where you can just roll out of bed, wash your hair, let it dry, and keep it moving. How do you think they've helped you get to that place?
Cynthia, I really think this is where it links so closely with identity, where our hair is really intertwined. And I think especially my parents, but really also my friends throughout my life have constantly made, even when I'm like not in the best space at all, but even like beauty wise, they've really always made me feel like I'm beautiful.
Sure.
They've been really careful about throwing around things like, oh, chubby, or a mess or whatever. I mean, not to say, like, my dad, he likes me to brush my hair. I don't know if there's anyone out there who knows curls do not like to be brushed. But he always thinks I should brush my hair. And when I was little, he really enjoyed brushing my hair for me, which is so cute. Oh. But sometimes when I don't brush my hair for a while, the curls get really like stringy, and it kind of like my hair mats a little. It's not a look my dad likes. And he calls it rat's tails because it's leaning towards dreadlocks. And I'm totally fine with that. And they would be fine with it if I got that. They would. They know it's my hair. I must do what I want. But it's really funny. I know he'll throw that word around. He'll throw that word around when my hair looks like it needs a brush. And to be fair, it definitely gets to those points where it's like, are you going for something that looks like, you've been in the bush for a week, or are you, brush your hair?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But even in that, like, it's never been like, Lauren, you're a mess. It's always been like, your hair could do with a brush. And even in that, it's like, you have beautiful hair. Like, even in saying that, it's like reaffirming that they like what I look like. And I think even deeper than like looks and stuff, my parents have done a good job of making me feel like I'm okay, more than okay. Not in like a really conceited, arrogant, like, oh, my child is a superstar and they're going to save the world kind of okay, but you're okay and we're really okay with you.
So 2 things. First of all, Lauren's parents are phenomenal. Lauren's whole family is amazing. Yes. And yes. I mean, I always have flashbacks to that time I came to stay. And it was meant to be like 2-3 days. Ended up staying for 10 days at your house. And how you guys...
It was a jam.
Yeah, oh my goodness. One of my favorite vacations ever. But just...
We talk about it here all the time.
Oh my gosh! I think I'm your parents' favorite adopted child. I know a lot of people try and claim them as their adopted parents, but I'm always the favorite. So I
just feel like I need to put it out there that you might be the favorite, but I I think you need to come and visit again in order to secure that position.
That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. I will always be the favorite. Thank you very much. But just to say, you guys.
I'm just trying to let you know we want you to come over.
yeah, that definitely needs to happen. But just to say, you guys do family so well and so consistently well, and like, yeah, you just embody what a godly, loving, wholesome, rich, like, I mean, emotionally rich family embodies, and it's such a corrective emotional experience just being in that. So that's a little side note. And secondly, I loved the point that you were making about when your dad was gently or not so gently pushing you to brush your hair, that it was always the importance of the language that he used stuck out for me. That he always said, you know, Lauren, your hair can use with a little bit of a brush. But the emphasis was always made to affirm that you have beautiful hair and that you are beautiful, and that your hair being a mess did not relate to your beauty and value as a human being. Do you mind just talking more about that in terms of what that meant to you and what that means to you now?
I think, first of all, thank you so much for all those wonderful things you say about my family. I really love my family, and I am always growing in awareness of how wonderful they are, because I think so often it's easy to take that stuff for granted. But I'd also like to just put out a disclaimer that we are so not perfect. We get it wrong. It doesn't always feel nice to be at home and around family, and it's not always lovely. I mean, 99% of the time it is, but there have been times when it's been hard to communicate, where we can't see each other, where we don't have enough patience, where there are other families out there who get it a lot better. But having said that, there is a lot of wonder in my family that I treasure. And maybe also this question you've asked me is very difficult for me to kind of pinpoint, because I don't think there are so many conversations where it's overtly said, like, listen, Lauren, you are so beautiful just the way you are. It's not so overt. It's kind of more subtle. And having said all those things and having heard you kind of say them back to me, I sit here and I almost think like, but it's not really like that, even though it's just what I've said. It's the reality, but it's also, I suppose it's things they've put in me that I've then been able to work with. How do I explain this? So they've given me an environment where I'm safe and comfortable and mostly relatively seen. And that seeing, they've been like, they like what they see, which is a big deal when it comes to parents. I think we always want them to like what they see. And sometimes we get pushed so far from that we really don't want them to like what they see, because it hurts and it's hard to feel like they don't like what they see. And I think what's been really amazing in my family is that they've just liked what they've seen. They like me. and that's a big deal.
Sure.
Yeah. It's
they
very
like
special.
Me, and it's a big deal. That's beautiful. I'd like to look at some of the photos that you sent through of your favorite looks, your favorite hairstyles. And one of my ultimate favorite photos of you is the one where you were at that photo shoot, and I was actually there with you, with the green background.
So special.
And yeah, like, can you Can you talk about why that's one of your favorite photos?
I mean, first of all, it was amazing to do a photo shoot. It was so cool how it all came about, and it was really affirming.
Can you talk about that with us in terms of how it came about and how that all started?
Sure. So I've never done any kind of modeling before. I would not say I'm very good at it.
Unacceptable.
But
unacceptable. You are phenomenal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. I was with my fam. We went to Port Alfred for a day. I think we were just wandering around some shops, exploring, and we walked into this furniture store, and there was a lady there who was like in charge of the store. She came down initially and asked us if we need any help or anything, and we were like, we're just looking. And before we went, just as we were going out, she like stopped me and she was like, this is a bit awkward, but I'm a photographer and I'd really like to take photos of you. So I basically got asked to do a photo shoot. It wasn't even something that I like signed up for. I think they go at like $800 a session or something. So I was like, I'm game. And yeah, she just liked my look and wanted to take pictures of me. And she's a wonderful photographer, Jade and Photography. She's such a lovely person as well. It was really fun to be with her. And so it didn't take too long. I organized a weekend when I could go down to Port Alfred, which is an hour or so from Grahamstown. And we went down. Cindy came with me for the day, and we had a fun day in Port Alfred taking pictures and dressing up. And yeah, it was fun. I was looking at those pictures again to find that photo to send to you, because I don't actually have them on my phone. And some of them they came out really nicely, and I was like, wow, this is so great.
They really did.
For people out there, if you're deliberating on whether or not to do a photo shoot, do it. If you have the money and the time and the people who can hook you up, it's really a good thing to do, because you have that stuff forever, and so often it's something that really adds value to how you see yourself, because you can look at something and be like, wow, I'm beautiful, and to let yourself go there. Let yourself go there and be like, yo, hey, good looking.
Yeah. I think photo shoots are a bit of a spiritual experience as well. I think I've done a couple of official photo shoots, and you just feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. So I would also recommend doing that. I had asked you to send through some photos of your favorite hair looks in particular. And why was this one? What about your hair and your hair in relation to you? Did you love this photo?
Curls. It's curly. I like curls, and the color. I don't know if she did like what editing she did and stuff, but she really brought out the color in such a beautiful way. And to contrast, because red and green are complementary colors, so red makes green look greener and green makes red look redder. And so to have that bush behind all the curls, I think they just really complemented each other well. And I'm a nature person, you can see. Like, I like being outside. And I like trees a lot. So it's a photo that I really love, because it's like, look, I'm in nature. I'm in what I love, and it's we're complementing each other. Yeah.
I think this photo is a really great representation of, well, not necessarily all of who you are, but how I experience you, because it looks like a lion's mane. And I use lion very deliberately because it goes back to earlier about feistiness. And I think you are feisty, and I think and I don't think all the time. I think there's certain things that bring out that feistiness in you, and I think you're very protective of the people you love and the things that you care about, and that's when the feistiness lioness comes out. even though lionesses don't have manes, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I love this particular photo because I feel like it just embodies so much of who you are and who I experience.
Sure, thank you, Cindy.
Great photo. Your second photo is the one of you at the beach. Can you talk to us about what in this photo, what about your hair makes it one of your favorites?
Again, it's the curls. Sea air and sea water, like swimming in the ocean and being in that kind of environment, really accentuates my curls or makes my hair curl more. And I like that. And I also wanted to just throw in a photo there of when my hair was really quite long. Yeah. So that's why I like that photo. And again, you'll see the green jersey and the red hair. So again, there's that contrast. Yeah.
And the one where you are at your 21st, did you also choose that because of the length?
Yes, length and the way it's like curling as well. It's like a more sort of controlled curl than the beach curls, but it's also the length and the curl.
Yeah. And now I'm going to show my absolute favorite photo of you. It's Lauren.
Mini Lauren.
This is absolutely adorable. How old were you?
I woke up like this. Oh goodness! I think I was 2.
Sure. You look so cute.
Yeah.
You look so cute. You just like rolled out of bed, like you just like being a baby.
Literally.
Hard.
I mean, who caught me? Who even had a camera then? Like, why?
Word. So you cut your hair a few years ago. How many years ago was it?
Sure. I think 3 years ago, 2017, 18. Yeah, I think it was 2017 when I cut it. Towards the end of 2017.
Okay. Can you tell us why? What brought that on?
It's so deep and profound. Not really. I was wearing a scarf. It was cold. It was around August-ish time when I cut it. And I was wearing a big scarf and it was covering my long hair. And just a little piece of my hair was kind of sticking out at about this kind of length. And I was like, that would look cool. And then I thought about it for a while. And then I came home for the holidays. I haven't let anyone else cut my hair except my home hairdresser since grade 7. Except one time when I was in England for a year, I let someone else cut my hair. Biggest mistake of my life. I'm joking. Really, it wasn't the biggest mistake of my life at all. But that's the kind of, I only cut my hair when I come home. So I came home for the August holidays and I was thinking about this and I mentioned it to my mom and my mom was like, no, I don't know. It's your hair. You can do what you want. It could be cool. Are you sure you really want to do that though? Because my hair was kind of long and it's what people mention all the time. Like I have strangers walk up to me and be like, oh, can I touch your hair? Or you have such beautiful hair. And it's so awkward. I'm like, okay, how do you say no? Like, anyway, I knew that a lot of people would be like, you're crazy. How could you kind of reaction to that. But I was also thinking, if I don't do it now, I'm probably never going to do it. Because I have this silly thing in my head that I'd like long hair when I get married. So 3 years ago, I was definitely like, well, that ain't happening anytime soon. I still have lots of time. So I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. So I went to my hairdresser and I was like, this is what I want to do. And she really tried to talk me out of it. She was like, are you sure you want to do that? Your hair is like your crown, Lauren. And I was like, it's just going to be a short crown. It's going to be there.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to do it was I think a little bit inspired by that baby photo as well. So as well as that moment with the scarf, but also when I was little, even younger than that photo, I had like a little afro. It was like a little afro of curls, and I was like, that is so cool. I totally want an afro. And also, again, curls. So I was like, if it's shorter, it'll be less weight on my hair, so maybe it'll curl more. And I managed to convince my hairdresser that it was a good idea. And she did it. And it was short. It was like up here. I must actually have a better look, but I don't think I have any nice photos from that time. Which I'm like, damn, I'm gonna have to do it again. Yeah, and I remember lots of people being very like shocked and surprised and kind of horrified that I had done this. But I loved it. I did, and I'm still loving it. And I think what I did in that space was I was like, I'm choosing to cut my hair now, and I'm deciding right now that I'm going to enjoy every phase of it growing out again. Sure. Because I know it can be quite a hard thing. Cut your hair and then you can spend a very long time regretting that decision. And I was like, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
Despite people's reactions, despite it was so much more difficult to work with. People were like, oh, it must be so much easier now that your hair is short. It really wasn't. I had to like wet it every day because the curls would be funny from sleeping, or the curls would have just all like gone out. So I'd have to wet it and like try and kind of do it every day, which I really was not used to at all. I was so used to having like weeks of washing my hair maybe once or twice and just letting it be what it wanted to be. And now all of a sudden I had to do something to it to make it look okay. So it wasn't easier. A lot of people were reacting like, oh, how could you? But I had decided I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to embrace it. And I did. And I still am. It was this length about a year ago for grad. I remember it was this length. And yeah, it wasn't so long ago when I got it cut quite short again because I wanted it to be all the same sort of length. So it's taken a very long time to grow out. But I've just really embraced all the different stages. And I'm loving the length that it is now. I love it. And I loved my little bob when I got it cut. And I loved it when it was short. I thought it was cool and spunky. And yeah, and I am kind of on a journey to getting it to be long again. But sometimes I wonder if I'll ever get there.
I think it's fascinating. Two things have stuck out for me. Firstly, your hairdresser's reaction, and particularly her saying your hair is your crown, and how that phrase, my goodness, I think has plagued women all over the world, and personally has plagued me.
Absolutely.
When I was around with the idea to cut my hair in the first place. But when you heard her say that your hair is your crown, why do you want to cut your hair? Your hair is your crown. What were you hearing? What did it mean for you? What did it mean to you when you heard that?
I have always, not always, since like high school, have felt that it is the, and sometimes the only part of me that is beautiful. As I said, like even with all the ways that my family has really made me feel loved and stuff, it hasn't been smooth sailing the whole time. I haven't felt this secure about myself all the time. Throughout high school and a bit in primary school as well, but definitely throughout high school, I was so insecure about my weight and my look and my me. But especially my weight. So, but I've always, not always, again, mostly high school, I've had people come up to me, strangers, and be like, oh, your hair is so beautiful. You have such beautiful hair. But I would always hear that as the part of you that is beautiful is your hair, not you. It's not you aren't beautiful. It's your hair. So yeah, so her having said that was kind of, I suppose my cutting of it was also a bit of a rebellion against that. Not that I was getting rid of my crown, because my reasoning behind it all was actually that I was just going to have it all up here and it was going to be more of a crown. But yeah, and I think by then I had a bit more security in myself. So I was okay to have less of a crown. I was like, I don't need it, I'm fine. But even I remember in high school, somewhere in there, I'm not sure what grade exactly, I really wanted to shave my head. I had really long hair in high school, and I was like, and a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine's father was really ill with cancer. So I wanted to shave my head for cancer. I wanted to shave it off. But I also wanted to do that to prove to myself that I'd be okay without this mark of beauty, that I would still be beautiful. And I never worked up the courage to shave my head. I don't know if I ever will. During this lockdown, I might. But yeah, it's definitely been something people have spoken over me quite a bit. Like, your hair is what is beautiful. But I think I've grown. I've grown to love all. I want to say all. Definitely most of me. I'm growing to love all of me. Yeah. Sure.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I think a lot of women feel that. And like, just reflecting on my personal story as well.
Yeah.
There was the, initial euphoria of cutting it all off, and also a little bit of social backlash from friends and family, and
sure,
and just people who weren't even my friends, who were like, "Oh my gosh, why did you cut your hair?"
Yeah, yeah. Like they have a yeah.
Like, let's relax a little bit here.
Whose hair is it?
Exactly. But I think we do that. I think we do that in general with women's bodies. There's this communal
collective ownership. Yes, yeah.
The collective ownership of whatever aspect of a woman's body, and we feel like we have a right to comment on, how much weight she's gaining, how much she's losing. When she's having a baby, if she should have a baby, all this nonsense, right?
Yeah, it puts pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And particularly with hair, I've experienced that as well. And like that backlash, but also in terms of it being tied to beauty, and an aspect of myself that I thought of as more beautiful than who I am at the core. There was a while where I felt unattractive, like consistently unattractive.
Sure.
And I think it's so brave for you to say that it was an act of rebellion, and it was an act of proving to yourself and to the world, but first and foremost for yourself, that you were beautiful without this thing that the world had associated with beauty above you as a human. And I think that's a radical and important act of love for yourself, and such an important way to live, actually. So I applaud you for doing that.
Thanks.
Did you, whenever people cut their hair and they post it on social media, people always quote the Coco Chanel quote, a woman who cuts her hair is about to change her life. It goes something along.
Change her life.
Did you feel any kind of a shift in terms of your life and who you were and how you navigated the world after you cut your hair?
I don't think so. I don't think there was no like dramatic breakup. There was definitely none of that. There was, yeah, I don't know. I do think maybe it's tied to what you have just said about the rebellion and choosing to love myself for me and to try and get the world to love that as well, outside of just that mark of beauty. So yeah, I suppose it was a bit of like a stepping out and being like, I love me for me sort of step, but that's all very subconscious, and I think maybe that's not even the main part of it. Probably the main part of it was just that I thought it would look cool, and I thought if I didn't do it now, I wasn't going to do it, and I should do it because I'm that kind of person. I want to do the things. So yeah, but I do think it's linked to that kind of rebellion and has maybe marked, but it's also a time in my life where whether I'd cut my hair or not, I was growing and self-acceptance. Yeah, so I think it's definitely linked to self-acceptance and a shift in that direction. But yeah,
that's beautiful. Would you ever dye your hair?
No, never have, never will. Mainly because this trusty hairdresser of mine, that's something she would put her foot down on. She would never do that. But also because I like my hair. I really do. I like the color. I like everything about it. And again, it ties back to that thing I said about makeup and about styling my hair. I don't even like my hair when it's straightened. I'm like, it doesn't look right. Because I feel like it looks right the way that it's meant to be. And I feel like if I dyed my hair, I'd have to deal with that, it doesn't look quite right for a very long time. And I do. I think because of my skin tone, because of my freckles, because of the way, like my coloring, another color hair, it would be very easy to just mess it up really badly and I would look a bit strange. So I'm not going to go there. I like the way God made me.
I mean, you just sort of touched on it with talking about your hair straightened, but when do you think your hair looks its worst? Well, worst according to you?
According to me, it's when it's gone like 4 extra days past its like, you should wash me now kind of place. And the curls have definitely long forgotten that they were around or needed to be around. It's been brushed a few times, so it's a bit frizzy and a little bit like sticky at the top. My hair never looks very greasy because it's very dry, but it doesn't feel nice. And when you brush curly hair, it kind of has these weird like curves or kinks they just don't work. They just don't work, and it's for me, they don't work. I don't like it. And it's like frizzy and sticky, and that's my worst. Yeah. And
you also touched on this when you were talking about, being at the beach and sea air and water, and how it, how your hair reacts to that. Would you say that's when it looks its best, or is there another time? Yes.
Yeah, no, that's its best at the beach. That's my best too. Yeah, I think so.
Do you have a hair icon, like someone who maybe it's a celebrity or a family member or friend who's your hair icon?
Okay, so not for someone who I look to and I'm like, I want my hair to look like that. Never. I've never been into celebrities or like looking at somebody else and wanting what they have. I feel like I really don't want to offend anyone in saying this. I feel like that's kind of unhealthy. I know a lot of people do, and they really enjoy looking at celebrities and I don't know, people who look like they're getting a lot of things right. And I think it's totally fine to use people around you as role models and people you aspire to, but I feel like it would make me unhappy for me to want to be like somebody else, because I never ever will be. And maybe it's my inability to not achieve the goals I set. That's also why I set very few goals. But yeah, I've never been in that space. I feel like, and I don't know if it's the same for everybody else, I feel like for me it would be very unhealthy. I would just get a lot of unhappiness out of it. And okay, to be fair, I have done it in many ways, especially body, figure, shape stuff. Definitely, that's where it's like sucked life out of me. I want to be skinnier all the time. It's infuriating, and it's unrealistic, and it's unhealthy, and it's not necessary. And actually, I think there was a shift in high school. I stopped praying to get thinner, and I started praying to love myself how I was.
Sure.
And things changed after that.
Sure.
And it really is, it's these people we aspire to, or just media in general, that makes us want to be things that we're not. And so we have to work hard and fight to love what we are.
I love that. We have to work hard and fight to love who we are. I love that. I think I'm going to end that there. Yeah. I think that's the perfect place to end this. Thank you for sharing your heart and who you are, and bringing the fullness of Lauren onto this platform, and sharing that with us, and sharing your experiences and your vulnerabilities, and just who you are, and your journey with us. I think it's been,
thank you so much.
Enjoyed it, even though I've known you for a million years. I've really enjoyed seeing this aspect of you, and I feel very honored to have you, my first guest.
Thank you so much for having me, Cindy. I feel very seen and very heard. You've always done that well, and I love that about you. And I'm also very honored to be your guest on this. I hope that lots of people are going to enjoy it and get something out of it.
Yay! Oh, first episode done. Thank you so much, Lauren Stanley, my good friend. All that you are and all that you bring to the world. And I hope lockdown carries on to be a really fruitful and amazing and enriching time for you and your family. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cindy. I love you. I hope it continues to be that for you as well.
Thank you. I love you lots.